People say that the Quad is directed against somebody. And it struck me that yes, all four of us have had problems with the UK. If one looks, for example, at the Goldman Sachs prediction, which is that we'll both really, by about 2075, end up as $50 trillion economy plus, and will be the two closest to each other. Your second issue, Russia-China, it's kind of funny. On the one hand, you have people whose sets of policies bring the two together, and then you say, beware of them coming together. Okay.
The winter of New Delhi marks the organization of a geopolitical event called the Raisina Dialogue. Organized by the independent think tank Observer Research Foundation or OFF, Raisina Dialogue is one of the only few global platforms where countries from across the spectrum, ideology, alliance, geography can find a voice to express their views.
Namaste guys, welcome to Indian Geopolitics.
This year's Raisina Dialogue was summarized by the views of Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar in the video ahead. Dr. Jaishankar was asked about the topics like India's role in the Quad grouping, its relationship with Russia, when can India expect to become a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, etc. Here are some highlights of the Raisina Dialogue 2024. When asked about whether India was worried over China being upset with India for it joining the Quad grouping, Jaishankar rebutted China's apprehension with a great counter. Have a look.
People say that the Quad is directed against somebody. And it struck me that yes, all four of us have had problems with the UK. So, think about it. But three of us have actually kind of fought a war. But what would be where would India-China finally find the equilibrium or a balance? Here's the problem. Both of us are rising, obviously at a different pace with different starting points. The Chinese started off earlier and much more intensively and robustly than we did. But it's in the nature of things that, at some stage everybody flattens out, so there'll be a period where they'll be flattening out and we'll be growing. If one looks, for example, at the Goldman Sachs prediction, which is that we'll both really, by about 2075, end up as $50 trillion economy plus, and will be the two closest to each other. Now, if both of us are moving vis-a-vis each other and vis-a-vis the world, how do we construct an equilibrium? That there will be occasions when one would want to do something to press home a particular advantage, and the other will resist. The bit which, the mind games which will be played would be, it's just between the two of us. There's nobody. The other 190 odd countries in the world don't exist in our relationship. That will be the mind game which will be played. I don't think we should play it, because if there are other factors out there in the world which can be harnessed by me to get better terms on an equilibrium, why should I forego that right? So part of today, when I say think through your own solutions, is don't give another country, which is clearly a competitive country, a veto over our policy choice. And unfortunately, in the past, that has happened from time. So we should be confident enough to leverage the international system.
He was asked about why and how India intends to manage its relationship with Russia amid the growing proximity of Russia with China, especially after the Ukraine-Russia conflict. His answer further exposed the hypocrisy of the Western world, especially of the Europe.
I would request you to like, subscribe and share your own channel Indian Geopolitics.
Your second issue, Russia-China, it's kind of funny. On the one hand, you have people whose sets of policies bring the two together, and then you say, beware of them coming together. Okay, can see the reality out there, but I think it's very much in Indian national interest, but I would suggest actually in global interest, that when Russia, what's happened today with Russia is essentially a lot of doors have been shut to Russia and the West. We know the reasons why. Russia is turning more to Asia. Now, it makes sense to give Russia multiple options. If we railroad Russia into a single option and say, that's really bad because that's the outcome, then you are making it a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So today I think it's important for other countries, especially in Asia, to engage Russia, to remind Russia. And look, Russia is a power with an enormous tradition of statecraft. Such powers would never put themselves into a single relationship of a overwhelming nature. It would go against their grain.
Stay tuned to know more. Like, subscribe and share your own channel Indian Geopolitics. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.